We're here at the Joe Val Festival 2018. We're sitting here with Darwin Davidson, Bronze Round, Bluegrass. We've trying to meet up with you and I for quite some time. I'd say the three or four different festivals. It's a pleasure to sit down with you.
Oh, yes, we finally made it, yes. It's definitely been 3 or 4 years we've been working at this, and it's happening. I'm so happy to be able to do this with you, Scott.
Thanks. Well, tell us what you're doing here at Joe Val, and then tell us about your radio show as well.
Well, I started at Joe Val many years ago. They had it in a ball field out in Boston, and I caught it in July on our way to Maine. But then they started doing it, switched it to a wintertime festival. And it was out in Dedham, Mass. For a year or two, and they outgrew that very quickly. And this, I believe, is the 17th year here at the Sheraton Framingham. Every President's Day weekend, and it's a great time to have a bluegrass festival in the Northeast, particularly inside. And today we did have, last night we had about 4 inches of snow, I guess. And it's been off and on over the years, but it's always a great festival. 900-seat ballroom here at the Sheraton Framingham, and it gets filled up because they have a fantastic lineup every year, this year being no exception whatsoever.
Tell me about what it is that you do here. What's your role?
Well, my role here has evolved over the years. I take photographs, and you might see them in the background here, of bluegrass musicians on stage, and I started doing that in the mid-90s at Merrillfest, and then as I started going to more and more festivals, I continued doing it. I'm a commercial photographer by trade. That was my day job. But once I started going to bluegrass festivals, I couldn't sit still seeing these fantastic musicians up on stage, and I wanted to record them photographically. And that's what I've been doing now since, for the last 20 plus years. And then started doing a radio show. I started doing Bronze Round in 1997. Actually, a little bit before that, because I would do recordings at festivals and take it back. And the guy who was doing Bronze Round at that point would just plug in the old cassette tape and play the recording. But then I had the opportunity to start doing the show, sharing it with Helen. So September 97 was my first show. So I've been doing it almost 20 and a half years now.
How do we find it?
It is WERU Community Radio, and it's online, streaming online at weru.org. And if you can't listen between on Thursday night, if you can't listen between 8 and 10 on Thursday nights, go to the website and negotiate your way to the archives, and you can listen to, there's probably 3 or 4 previous shows right there in the archives. And it's a bluegrass show, pretty strictly bluegrass. I host it. I have 2 or 3 people who host it when I'm away, like last Thursday when I was here, or when I go down to Merrillfest or Gray Fox or other festivals that I go to. But it's straight ahead bluegrass.
You've had many interviews that you do. Who are some of the people that you've spoken with?
Well, over the years, we were just talking about that the other day. My first interview was at Merrillfest with Peter Rowan, and I was a newbie. This was early 90s, and I was a real newbie at this. But I knew I wanted to do an interview with Peter Rowan. I saw him coming across the field, and I went up and approached him, and I said, hi, I'm Darwin Davidson. I do this radio show, and I'd love to do an interview with you. And we recorded on my little cassette recorder. And he said, sure. And they had rooms set up where you could book the room for a half hour for an interview. And we went in, and he knew that I was a newbie, but he was so gracious and walked me through the interview, and I looked like a pro, and I wasn't at all. But Peter has just become a good friend, he did all the work, and he just led me through it, which was wonderful. And then other ones was I was the first person to interview Jens Kruger when he came to the U.S. He had been here for one summer touring with someone, I forget who now. But the first time the band came was 1997, I believe. And I said, these guys blew me away. The Kruger Brothers from Switzerland, this bluegrass group. I said, well, I want to interview one of them. The bass player is from Brooklyn, New York. I didn't want to interview him. But Jens and Uwe, I was a little concerned that I wouldn't be able to understand what he was saying. But Jens was pretty good. And he sat down with me and he said, sure. And we had a wonderful interview with Jens Kruger. And I'm so honored to be the first person to interview Jens Kruger. And they have since gone on to great things and live down the road from Merlefest in Wilkesboro. And then over the years, and now we're having an anniversary. Peter and I are having an anniversary. I'm going to interview him on March 1st in conjunction with Merlefest again.
And what are some of the things you're on stage here? Tell us what.
Well, you have evolved into, through the radio show, I met Stan Zadanek, who you just interviewed, quite a few years ago, and Stan said, we're always looking for MCs. Could you do some MC work for us? I said, oh, I'd love to. And so I've known a few of the bands, but I've met a lot more bands, introducing them on stage, because you do a little chat beforehand. I want to find out what they would like me to mention as I introduce them, and then turn it off. And having the interaction with the audience is also just so great. And getting them excited about this band that they may not have heard of before. Like the band that just came off the stage, Mile 12. They've been in existence now 3-4 years now from this area. They have just boomed because of people like the BPU that have seen the potential here of these kids and given them a stage, so to speak.
3 or 4 years ago, their first gig was here.
Yeah. Now I believe some of them have come out of Berkeley, the Berkeley School of Music, with Dave Hollander, who has had this bluegrass program for years now. And yes, there's been a lot of great bluegrass musicians come out of Berkeley and got their start here at BBU at the Joe Val Festival.
What are some of the other festivals that you work at?
Well, the next one on the schedule will be Merlefest at the end of, let me phrase that exactly the way they would want it. Here, Merlefest. I get corrected on that all the time. Coming from the north, I say Merle, but it's Merlefest. So that'll be my next festival that I go to. And then Gray Fox coming up in July. That's a monster festival and a great festival. And then the IBMA World of Bluegrass, end of September. Those are the big ones I hit. I might hit one or two. There's one other very interesting event that happens that just restarted 2 years ago called Billy's Belly Bluegrass Competition. And a young man from Delaware area, Bill Owens, is running it, and they give away many thousands of dollars to bands in this competition. It's a one-day bluegrass band and performance competition, and Anson, Maine, which is near Waterville. And it's no secret he gives away $13,000-$14,000 in prize money. The first place band goes home with $5,000, and it's mostly bands and musicians from Maine, but it's open to anybody who come up to Anson, Maine in the middle of August. So that is, I've been doing that for a couple of years now.
So if you're looking again online, it's
WERU.org. It's a community radio station. We're going to be celebrating our 30th anniversary. Started in May of 1988. So our 30th anniversary is coming up this year, and there'll be lots of stuff going on with that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Darwin. It's a pleasure that we got to sit down finally. And we'll stay in touch. And good. Keep in touch with each other with updates.
Please, and I look forward to seeing you at Grey Fox, I believe.
Of course.
Well, I'll see you. I'll see you there.
That's home to us.
Ah, yes.
All right.
Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate it.